or child trafficking. Why parents across Norway are comparing their country's family welfare agency to a criminal enterprise.
There is something severely wrong going on in Norway, that you're taking children out of well-working families.
You think that's bad? Wait until you find out why these kids are being taken from their homes. CBN News has the exclusive report, so don't go away.
Well, families are under attack by government bureaucracies across Europe, and Norway is the worst offender in violating parental rights. As Dale Hurd shows us, its so-called child welfare agency is more about punishing parents than protecting children.
One of the first things you notice about Norway when you visit is how beautiful it is. But there's a very dark side of Norway that most of the world knows nothing about. It's called barnevernet, and it can be as brutal as the Norwegian winter. Barnevernet means child welfare. It's Norway's network of local child protection offices, but to its victims, barnevernet means anything but protecting children. After moving to Norway from Atlanta last year, American mother Natalia Shutakova's 3 American-born children were taken in May by barnevernet for alleged child mistreatment. Shutakova says she and her Lithuanian husband were jailed for 24 hours and told they could get 2 years in prison for discussing the case. They're waiting to hear if they'll lose custody of their children for good. Foreigners living in Norway seem especially at risk of having their children taken by barnevernet.
Somebody please help our family. Barnevernet is here in our home, and they're trying to take my son. I'm Canadian.
Barnevernet took the Christensen's son Kai after they started homeschooling him because he received death threats at school.
My son is not under arrest. He doesn't want to go anywhere. Look what you're doing. You leave him alone. He has done nothing. You leave him alone. Can somebody please help us?
And it was barnevernet that took 5 children from Romanian and Norwegian parents Marius and Ruth Bodnario in 2016. Barnevernet claimed the reason was the parents were spanking. But an investigation revealed the real reason was officials believed the Bodnario children were being indoctrinated into Christianity by their parents. Worldwide outrage forced the Norwegian government to return the children. The Bodnarios escaped from Norway and have filed suit before the European Court of Human Rights. The government of Norway defends barnevernet against what it calls wild accusations. And the agency probably does some good work. But if there's not a problem, why does a nation of 5 million people have so many cases before the European Court of Human Rights? 26 cases pending before the court, 17 of the last 18. A staggering number for one of the smallest nations in Europe.
There are 26 cases in total. At this stage, there will probably rise to 30 within a few months.
Marius Reikerås is a Norwegian human rights counsel before the European Court of Human Rights.
There is something severely wrong going on in Norway, that you're taking children out of well-working families. We're not talking about child abuse. We're not talking about alcoholism or drug abuse, or we're talking about, in general, normal families that have all the capabilities to provide good care for their children.
Einar Salvesen is a Norwegian psychologist and has been an expert witness in barnevernet court cases since 1995. And he says barnevernet needs to be shut down immediately.
You need to close down all the offices. It's 400 offices. It has become a system of evil in too many cases.
In 2013, barnevernet took American citizen Amy Jacobsen Bjornevag's 1.5-year-old son Tyler because he was 1 pound underweight. She phoned the Obama White House asking for help.
They have legally kidnapped my child, and I need help.
But she got no help, and 6 years later her son Tyler has been passed from foster home to foster home and has had his name changed at least twice. And Amy alleges that he has been tortured.
We do have paperwork that says that he was tied to the bed because he kept standing up in his crib calling for mommy. It isn't to know that he's been calling for you, and and they completely ignore it. And they do everything to make him stop calling. So they cut all contact. That's their solution, instead of working with families.
Czech member of the European Parliament Tomáš Zedekovský has battled Barneverna, and he calls it a monster.
I think that they made a lot of mistakes, and they are still doing a lot of mistakes. And this monster is really functioning without any control of somebody.
Rijkeres believes Barneverna has not been reined in because this is about a lot of money, and he's not afraid to call it child trafficking.
Because we see that billions and billions of dollars are being put into the system each year. And of course, a lot of people are profiting big time from this. So saying that this is a form of child trafficking, absolutely, in my opinion, yes.
We presented these charges to Norway's Ministry of Children and Families, and it told us that Barneverna is in the process of being reformed for the strengthening of legal safeguards for both children and their parents. It's unclear whether Norway is serious about reform. It expelled a Polish diplomat this year for trying to defend Polish families in Norway from Barneverna. The U.S. government has so far done nothing about the attacks against American families in Norway by the Norwegian government. Amy Jacobsen Bjornevag continues to lose in court and wonders now if she will ever again regain custody of her son.
And I'd do anything to hold him in my arms at least one time, for him to have some sort of sense of where he comes from and his background, his family. I have a whole family who loves him and misses him.
Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Well, this story is beyond horrific. Well, just imagine having your child taken from you because it's 1 pound underweight. And let me add to this, that child is an American citizen. So it's just horrific that a child would be separated from his mother for 6 years because of being 1 pound underweight. It makes absolutely no sense. And you talk about a bureaucracy run amok where, somehow the state seems to know better than a mother how to raise her own child. This is beyond belief, and we need to act. The first thing is, for those American citizens, those children are American citizens. Our government needs to stand up to Norway and say, you don't get to do that. You don't get to do that to our children. Return these children to their parents as soon as possible, or you are no longer going to be, part of our system. You don't get to do this. The second thing, and this is something you and I can do, we can start posting these stories on social media. The last time a child was returned to their parents in Norway, it was precisely because of that. They realized there was going to be a whole lot of international pressure put on them. We need to shame them for what they're doing. I do not understand a bureaucracy that requires 400 offices in a country of 5 million people. This is overkill. There must be some kind of horrible thing happening to the children of Norway to justify that kind of expenditure. And so you have these bureaucrats who are literally roaming the countryside looking for something to do. And this needs to absolutely stop. The EU needs to act. This international court needs to act. But more importantly, Norway needs to act. They need to stop this nonsense. And in the meantime, let's not go there. If you've got children, please don't go to Norway. Don't ever get them associated with this kind of thing. Every day a child is separated from their parents is a day of damage for that child. And here we have a baby who has spent 6 years away from his mother. This needs to stop, and it needs to stop now.